champion for us and other predominantly Black institutions. So join me in welcoming up Congressman Jackson.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you to my dear and esteemed colleague, the Honorable Congressman Danny K. Davis, a man I've got enormous amount of respect and appreciation for, who started his early life in a single room classroom. When I came to the Congress, Congressman Davis came to the Hill and was championing for me to get on committees for agriculture and foreign affairs, and for that I'm grateful and appreciative. I would like to say, if you want to understand the world, look at agriculture. If you want to understand the politics, look at agriculture. And you can see both of those institutions. Thank you so much for your leadership and friendship. Congressman Davis, thank you. Congresswoman Carlin Kelly, and Congresswoman Yvette Clark, as we champion this continued work that we have to fight for the PBI institutions. It's essential, and I can't help but make a comment. First of all, being in the National Urban League, I'm a graduate of Whitney M. Young High School, so Mr. Whitney M. Young and his work is close to my heart. A man that grew up in Kentucky and went to Kentucky State University, a predominantly Black institution. And that doesn't mean that he had a Black education. I mean, he had an excellent education. He went from Kentucky State on to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Most people would forget that about his history. He was put on a road work crew as he served in the military, and then joined the National Urban League and took it off of the sideline of being, if you will, a reporting agency and a conservative institution, and rechanneled it to be a fighting institution for civil rights and fighting against racial and economic discrimination. And I hope that we continue to revive that and move the institution and all of our institutions forward. I was just reading the newspaper coming over here, and to see that the Fearless Fund, a fund that was dedicated towards targeting grant programs, putting institutional capital that was raised from private institutions into African American and predominantly African American female entrepreneurs' hands. A grant program. Corporations have found the economic viability, the necessity to have a grant-making institution, an organization, the Fearless Fund, to put funds into African American females' hands. Well, the Fearless Funds is no longer putting grants into African American females' hands because of what has happened with the Supreme Court. I'm saying this because this is a wake-up call. That same attack that you're seeing is going on in Project 2025. Be clear, Project 2025 doesn't start next year if another dreaded person were to try to recapture the White House. Project 2025 has already begun. Project 2025 said that there are too many African Americans in higher educational institutions in the classrooms. If you turn on your television to watch football and basketball, you'll see that we're very much well represented in higher institutions for athletics, but not for academics, not for faculty, not for tenure. I want to thank President Z. Scott for her outstanding work at Chicago State. I've got long, deep community ties to Chicago State. I went to work at Chicago State better than 15 years ago, and it was truly one of the honors and joys of my life to stand before those students. And people ask me, well, what are you doing teaching at the school? I look forward to getting back behind a lectern and teaching at a school sometime soon. How can you learn if you don't go to school and teach? The students can tell you so much every week. I got 1,000 great stories. But those students came from some of the most challenging communities across the city. And it made me just realize how fortunate I was to go to North Carolina A&T State University to have family support. If there was one dream and one desire I had, oftentimes pulling up on that campus for so many of those students that I admired so much, is that I wish I could just take them all and pick them up, take them to a Wakanda, let them be in a magical place for 4 years so we could pour all the things that we need into them so that they could become strong and go out into this world fearlessly and attack it and do all the great things that they have in their imagination. 70% of the students were raising children from their families or for themselves. Those children came from low income. Many of those students had to work secondary jobs. Many of those students had to take obstacles in order to get through school. Life, in the words of Langston Hughes, was no crystal staircase for them. So we need these institutions for our children. And these institutions, unfortunately, are now severely under attack. We saw one of our preeminent educators, Dr. Glover of Tennessee State University, when the governor of Tennessee was trying to figure out why Tennessee State's population and their enrollment was growing so fast, because the students felt so much more comfortable there. They asked for a criminal audit on Tennessee State University. And what did they find? They found that her books were unassailably fine, that she had complied, and there was nothing wrong. But ironically, what did they find? They found that the state has shortchanged giving the federal funds and the state funds to Tennessee State. And then they dissolved the board and replaced it with a bunch of puppets. They were cheating the university after they found that they cheated the University of Tennessee State out of almost $1 billion of funds over the last 50 years. So in the shadows of Howard University, as we sit here in the Urban League, as we sit here with the 23rd highest ranking member in the United States Congress, Congressman Danny Davis, let's not forget his seniority. He is the dean of the Illinois delegation, one of the highest ranking members on the Ways and Means. Let's take full advantage of that. So as being a part of Chicago State, having been able to teach there, having been able to teach at Kennedy King College, a predominantly, if you will, a PBI community college, let's continue this fight. Again, to my colleagues, Congresswoman Clark, Congresswoman Kelly, and to our esteemed president, Z. Scott, you fight the fight every day. I'm gonna leave you on one last note to show you how vicious this fight is. When I was teaching at Chicago State, there was a governor named Bruce Rauner, private equity guy, had all these great ideas, wants more vouchers, wants more charter schools. When he got into the school, there was a program called MAP, Minority Assistance Program, to help students get, like the Fearless Fund, these were scholarships targeted for minority students. He cut that program. And then I was in turn laid off like many other professors. I went to Northwestern University, after I went to Kellogg and so forth. I wanted to teach in my neighborhood. They're cutting off our access for people that want to teach in our own institutions. So this is a fight. My grandmother, Gertrude Brown, bless her soul, life was no crystal stair for her. She had most of her children before she was the age of 20. But in 1988, when my brother Jesse Jr. and I graduated from North Carolina A&T, we left our graduation to go to Hampton University to go to my grandmother's graduation, where she graduated. I say that to tell you, we have to make sure education is a family value. After she finished Hampton University with her undergrad, she went on to get her master's at 65. So one of the thrills of my life was to see daughters and mothers in the same class with me at Chicago State. It's still a family value. When I told my grandmother, we've got to go see, what's the movie with the black women that...
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures. I said, Grandma, and she's from Newport News in the Hampton area. I said, you've got to see Hidden Figures. And there's this woman named Dr. Johnson in there that you have to see. She said, you talking about Catherine? I said, no, Dr. Johnson. She's a mathematician. She said, no, Catherine. And I looked at the name, yeah, Catherine Johnson. She says, yeah, she was my neighbor in Hampton. She was my neighbor in Newport News. And so we went to see the movie. And I said, what'd you think of the movie, grandmother? She says, they should do a prequel to the movie. And that should be all of those students were taught by black educators. That's the movie that needs to be made. So let's reclaim our institutions, teach and uplift our children. Thank you so much.